thrilled for him. I mean, what a great opportunity, and he's obviously crushing it here. So I'm really happy for him.
What jumps out about the way this team has played under Kenny so far?
I mean, it's a two-way team, and you know they've been together for a few years, so continuity was already there, the talent, and obviously they were pretty damn good last year. So I think all of these jobs are different, and this was a great job to get, just like mine was 10 years ago, coming into a team that was already talented, already a playoff team, and then now you're just tweaking things and seeing where you can get better on the margins, rather than trying to grow something organically that's more difficult to do. So it's the perfect spot, and Kenny has taken advantage, and the team is doing great, and it looks like a good fit.
Apologies for running in here after Kenny, but at the time he left you guys, just what did you see as his greatest strength as a coach?
He's just an all-around coach. He's not an offensive guy. He's not a defensive guy. He's not a player development guy. He's kind of all of the above. He's a tireless worker. He loves it. Every time I call him, he'd be watching League Pass. And he's maniac in a good way. And he did a phenomenal job for us and helped us win a championship, and made me a better coach, and covered up for my weaknesses, and so it was really a perfect marriage, and I'm thrilled for him that he was able to get this job.
Steve, knowing him the way that you do and getting into his mind, like what elements within the Cavs are you noticing that speak to this is a Kenny Atkinson team?
Well, they're a two-way team, and as I said, every job's different. All of us as NBA coaches are reliant on the talent and the character of our players. No matter what we do scheme-wise, no matter what we do culture-wise, we better have players and high-character guys, and Cleveland has that. And so Kenny has just done a great job of picking up where they left off. Everything that JB did the last couple of years, helping to build this team. Clearly, it's been a team on the rise, and Kenny has just added his touch, what he felt like he could do to help the team get better, and he's obviously done a great job.
So as you look at this Cavs team that has been together, that you've seen in years past be good, what looks different about this version of it this year?
Well, I think the natural growth of the team. For all these young teams that are together for years, there's kind of a natural growth that happens, an organic growth. You figure out what the weaknesses are, what the strengths, and then you try to figure out what's the best way to put it together. And so I just, I watched 2 of their games today in preparation for tonight, and it looks like the roles are really clearly defined. It looks like they've, found a really good mix of, the starting lineup, which is obviously loaded and plays with 2 bigs, traditional bigs, moving to the bench where you've got tons of shooting and more spacing. They're playing a lot of different combinations that all seem to fit really well together. So, Kenny and his staff are doing a good job, and Kobe did a great job with the roster as well. The pieces seem to really fit well together.
Kind of along those lines, you guys obviously still, Steph and Draymond, you've been able to play at a high level for a number of years. They tore it all the way down and built it all the way back up. Are you surprised at all at how quickly they've been able to?
Pretty hard thing to do,
Yeah.
To tear it down, and you have to get a little lucky. You have to, more than anything, hit on a couple of big decisions. They've hit on several. They hit on Garland, they hit on the Mitchell trade, and they clearly were prepared for that when it came around. And that's one part of being a really strong organization is when you're on the rise, is putting yourself in a position to pounce even before you know what that's going to be. And they did that. obviously Mobley, the Allen trade, it's all in there, and like I said, you got to have good players. You got to have high character guys, and seems like Cleveland's done all of that.
What did you learn from Kenny?
I learned a lot about analytics. I really wasn't well versed in analytics, and he was always very analytically driven. And when we would talk before he came to us, I was always struck by how he viewed analytics and the marriage between analytics and film and on-court performance. And so what he really did with us was he helped marry our analytics department with our coaching staff, and helped me to understand the things that I needed to be looking at versus some of the things that I could also be fooled by. And then as we would go through the season, we'd figure out some of those things together in staff meetings, and we'd look at everything. But he really gave me a different way of sort of viewing the process.
You mentioned the Cavs' two bigs. There's always a lot of conversation around the NBA if there's room for two bigs. The Cavs often point to the Warriors and say, well, they did it with Draymond and Looney, and Kenny has mentioned that too. What's the key to making it work with those two bigs?
Well, number one, it's going to be better defensively if the two bigs are really good, and it's always been the case for us with Draymond and Loon. It's clearly the case for Cleveland with those two guys. As long as they're good players, size and rim protection and the ability to switch, all that stuff, it matters in the modern NBA. So then it has to work at the other end, and so depends on your roster. They're making it work with a dynamic backcourt, and they've put together a really good shooting roster. So you have to be able to occupy their defenders. A lot of times if you have two bigs who aren't traditional three-point shooters, and people are going to sit in the paint, so how do you occupy those defenders? And Kenny's done a good job of doing that, running the stuff that they're running.